information, and particularly perfect information, is going to destroy the world and take the life and the color and the joy out of life. And there's an argument he made that if people would just surrender to the God of perfect information and AI, your life could go better. Don't fight against it. Just surrender that the GPS always has the best route to get there, the most effective and efficient route. I've already surrendered to the GPS in my car. I very rarely go against my GPS. And so one can make the argument like, well, perfect, you can always make a choice against it. It's like, but why would you? Welcome back to the Personality Hacker Podcast. My name is Joel Mark Witt.
And I'm Antonia Dodge.
So, Antonia, we do this exercise at our Personality Profiler training event. Every time we have one of the events for the introverted thinking or accuracy, one of the exercises. We have multiple exercises for multiple embodiment of all the 8 cognitive functions, the Jungian cognitive functions.
Wait,
but this one...
In Profiler Training or Personality Life Path?
Well, in both, actually.
Okay.
Both programs we do this.
All right.
But different ways. In
different ways.
Profiler Training, we're helping people spot it in others.
Right.
And map personality in others.
Yeah.
So help other people determine their personality map. In Personality Life Path, we're helping the person look at their 8 functions and their map.
Figure out their relationship.
For their life path.
Yeah.
So one's for the self and one's for others.
Okay.
But the one for others, Profiler Training.
Yes.
We have 2 days of embodiment exercises where we go through all the 8 functions experientially.
Right.
Anyway, one of the exercises during the accuracy or introverted thinking section is to, I'll spill the beans here. One of the exercises is come up with the belief that you truly believe that is it's not shared by very many people.
Yeah.
And I think it's really hard to come up with these because a lot of people, murder is wrong. Well, most people agree with that. Like the belief that most people disagree with is really tough because some people say like veganism is the right way to go. It's like, well, you have a lot of people who agree with you on that. That's not really one that people disagree with. I think I have one that people disagree with on. Maybe not. I'm curious to find out.
All right.
One of the beliefs that I have is that information, and particularly perfect information, is going to destroy the world and take the life and the color and the joy out of life. And AI is going to amplify this and make it worse.
Okay, so when you say destroy the world, you don't mean like make nukes go off. You
no, maybe
mean
that. I don't know.
that it's going to destroy the vitality of the
vitality of our human experience. It's going to destroy our human experience. And I think it's already been doing this.
Okay.
Right? There's a lot of... I think there's a lot of magic and meaning in the mystery and the unknown and the absurd belief conclusions people come to. Like the old wives' tale, like drink this concoction of like honey and hot water and salt and that'll get rid of your sore throat. Whether that's true or not, I like that thing existing in our world.
You mean like whatever part of our brain makes it so that the placebo effect works? Or
whatever. Like I kind of like this idea that we don't always know it all. And it's not just about human capacity of knowledge. Mm-hmm. One way to look at this is like a game of chess. I've never really taken to chess, and I think I'm realizing why is because chess is a perfect information game. Yeah. Most gameplay is won by deception. In American football, I'm trying to deceive the other team for what I'm going to do with the ball to get into the end zone. I'm trying to deceive where I'm going to throw it, where I'm going to go with it, and outsmart them. I'm trying to lie to the other team. It's through drama and lying and signaling something that's untrue is how I win that game. Now there's raw capacity as well. I have to be skilled as well with my team, but I'm able to use deception and drama, that you'll see the quarterback pretend to like dramatically throw it, but he just passed it off to somebody else, but he's pretending, he's acting something out to deceive the other team. Chess isn't like this. The only thing that limits you from chess, from winning your opponent, is the capacity to hold the information on the board in your head. Right. You can see everything. You can see every move they're making. You don't know their intent, but you see the move they make. And if you had enough capacity in your brain, you could know every possible move they could make. Mm-hmm. So you could scan through them and look at the probabilities of it. Like if you had enough computation in your brain, you could do all this. Some people use their intuition, or they use, certain movement sets. They memorize certain patterns of movement and all this to get this approximation. But with enough capacity, chess is a perfect information game. Okay, so let's define our terms. What is perfect information when you use this term? Do you want me to define it? Maybe you have to help me here because I would define it by pointing to the example of chess. Right. Okay. Usually my definitions come with there are more examples that the definitions derive from. So I guess maybe we could work on the definition here. Okay. But I mean where it's like all the information's known. It's a closed system of information. Yeah. So basically is how I would define it. Perfect information is a game theory and economics term. Yes. That effectively means what you just said, which is that in a perfect information context, everybody is aware of all of the information. Yes,
So
all game players are. Yeah.
correct. And so chess is a good example of it because everybody's watching the same board.
Yeah.
Both the players are aware of every move each of them has made the entire game, and they will be aware of every move that is made for the entire game.
That's right.
So it's perfect information in the sense that you get to access to everything. You get to see it all.
That's right.
Right. As opposed to, like you said, other forms of gameplay that are more deception-based, like, say, poker.
That's the most, that's a really high deception-based game. Yes.
Correct. Right.
A lot of performance goes into it.
And sometimes you don't even get to see the cards, right?
Yeah.
Like, even at the end when, like it was all supposed to be revealed, part of poker is that if you bluffed well enough, you don't even have to show your cards.
Yeah.
Right? You just put them face down and you still get the pot.
Yeah.
So perfect information then is like kind of a form of omniscience. You
Yes.
get to see all the things. And so considering that's the definition of perfect information, your assertion is, and I don't know how much you actually believe this. I think you're playing around with the idea right now. Is that accurate? Or do you is this a conviction?
I'm not going to go to my grave over it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to defend it to that level.
You wouldn't die on the hill.
But it's a burgeoning it's a sadness actually to what's going to be coming for us with AI. I think there's a sadness to where the gaps between knowledge, actually there's wonderment and joy that lives there. There's a reason why people have come up with the phrase ignorance is bliss.
Yeah.
It doesn't just live in a vacuum. There's a reason people say that.
Yeah, well, ignorance is also misery. People don't say that as much, but it's very frequently. In fact, I would say it's more often true.
Okay.
So, I'm going to make a counterpoint to this.
Please do.
Which is that I don't think perfect information necessarily strips the magic or the wonderment or the fantasy out of life. I think what perfect information does is it gives us access to information to allow us to see what isn't magical, but we've been applying magical thinking to it, and where magic actually still lives because we haven't figured that out. And so I think what perfect information gives us and will give us is a capacity to like have not a level playing field, but like if I'm playing chess with somebody and I don't know this, but they actually think it's a game of checkers, right? And they're insistent that all their moves are fine. And it's like, that's not how that piece moves. And it's like, no, it's fine. But they're in a fantasy of the game that we're playing.
Sure.
Then you're not even engaging in the same game. And so there's not from my perspective, it's not like magic and wonderment there. It's more just confusion and a misunderstanding and trying to get on the same page. Whereas if you do have two people playing chess and somebody is a masterful strategist and you watch them like do this incredible 17 move from beginning to end strategy.
Yeah.
Like, it feels like there's magic there. It feels like there's like an extraordinary capacity. I know it's not magic, but it's like there's a, like you said, if you can hold every move in your head, the magic isn't in the game or a deception around it. The magic is in the capacity to do that.
Sure.
And so I'm just saying that at the premise level, I'm not sure if I totally agree, but I think it's an interesting enough premise because I think, at least from my perspective, I don't think you're alone in feeling this way. Now, you're projecting this fear into the future, or not fear. I don't think this is as much fear. You don't have like anxiety around this. It's just like a premise that you're, putting forth and going like, that's an interesting idea, and maybe I'm right. But you're when we talk about it, you're projecting this into the future, and maybe in a time period where we all have perfect information.
Sure.
Maybe it will rob the joy or the color out of our lives in the future, and all of that stuff. But I actually think that a lot of people feel this way without knowing they feel it, and they're not worried about it being
sure
a trap in the future of this, everybody's aware of everything situation. They feel that right now when we don't have perfect information, they're actually fleeing clarity. I actually think most people flee clarity. They don't want perfect information. They don't want better information.
Okay, let's unpack that in a second, but let's do a check on that. If you're listening or watching right now, which side like, as we're just already talking about it, we're going to keep unpacking this, but I want to hear where you're at right now in the snapshot of this. Are you more like what I'm saying, like or I guess, are you sensing that you avoid perfect information, kind of like what I want to avoid? I'm trying to push back on this, and I'm going to throw you a bone here in a second, Antonia, to talk about how I think it does help us in some ways. Like, it's not all bad. I'm not lamenting all of it. I'm just lamenting some of it. But I'd love to hear from the person, if you're listening or watching right now, Make a comment below this episode. Let us know, do you see it this way? Do you see like perfect information would actually solve a lot of problems? Like having all the information on the table, do you think that would empower more of a magical life or a magical world? Or do you think that would rob us of some of the mystery understanding? Like, just how would you represent this to yourself without us going further yet? Just as of right now in this episode, because we're going to continue to unpack the thinking here. You might change your opinion as you understand what we're really talking about as we do this. But what do you think of it right now? Leave a comment, whatever platform you're watching this, mostly YouTube. Make your voice heard. I want to hear what you have to say about this. Let's get this conversation started.
I would love for you to throw me a bone. Can you remember the bone you're going to throw me? Can you tag it? Okay. Because I was going to say that the other term we have to define is, what do we mean by magical? You know, it's going to like make life less magical. What do we mean by magical?
And defining these is frustrating me because you're doing the very thing I'm trying to not do. Like you're like magical. It in a way, I'm serious. Like the person hearing that, interpreting it for themselves, that's what I want. That's the magical part. But the moment I define it, they might, I didn't define it that way. And now I've taken something from them.
Yeah.
It proves my point in a way.
Yeah.
Like if I define this now, what I mean by magical, or I try to make a definition around it, it's the very thing I don't want to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's making more perfect information. It's clarifying something. And this is my whole premise. Like, I don't know, I'm not saying I'm pushing back on this wholesale. I like information. That's why I need to almost throw you the bone for a second to say, I think it's value. So I think the Wall Street stock market, it's not perfect information, but it's pretty close. And the reason why right now at the time of this recording, American economy isn't necessarily doing well, like job markets and things aren't necessarily doing as well as the stock market would reflect. But the investors have enough information to know the cycle of boom and bust, to know how these things flow. Now, there might be a bubble, someone economically minded might say, but the stock market doesn't behave as it did back in the 1930s when there were bank runs. People would panic. They didn't have the internet to clarify, like, what's going on, and do a search. Oh, it's just this one bank in this one industry, and here's why, and here's all the factors that went into it. They just see like the run on a bank, and they're like, my bank might be threatened too. They run and they just start pulling their money out, and now it causes the whole system to collapse. Mm-hmm. Better information, maybe not perfect, but near perfect information. We know how markets work now, globally connected. We know the cycles, and so investors know that if there's a big sell-off, it'll drop, a bunch of cash will go in, and it'll go right back up. Like it even happened during COVID. It plummeted, but it went right back up. Right. And so the boom and bust cycle now is getting, like, we don't have great depressions. We don't have great recessions as much. We do still, but it's getting better and better because we know a lot more about the markets and how they work.
Right. Yeah.
So we're able to play them better because we are way more informed, as an example.
Yeah.
So I'm not completely against having better information or even maybe near perfect information. I think it has a utility, and so it can cause a lot of goodness. I'm saying, what are the secondary costs to that that's going to collapse? And I think it's going to be unintended consequences from it that we're not looking at, that I'm pushing back on now while we still have a chance to.
Well,
and I couldn't even define what those consequences are, just so you know. Boom
and bust cycles allow for opportunity.
That's right.
And so a lack of boom and bust means that, what does Littlefinger say in Game of Thrones? That chaos is a ladder.
That's right.
And so you have less chaos with which to use, as opportunity climbing. Now,
by the way, I have a real interesting thought here.
Okay.
A natural boom and bust cycle is the death of a generation.
Right.
Like the baby boomers, for example, had a boom in the 1960s, 70s, 80s. It was their prime of their life. They had a boom moment on the bell curve, capitalize on that, derive value from it, but they're going to have a bust moment as a generation when they all die. Mm-hmm. Perfect information might fix this. It might make it so we can live forever. So we don't have a boom and bust. There's opportunity when a generation dies out.
Right.
That might be eradicated by perfect information if we know how to keep ourselves alive indefinitely.
Right.
And this is, to me, I'm going, that's a bad thing because the boom and bust cycle won't be there for the opportunity like you're talking about.
The opportunities like handing down
power, control,
resource, generational
money,
wealth,
land, whatever, resource. Yeah.
Right. Well, and also the concept that what is the phrase? Scientific progress is made one funeral at a time.
That's right. That's a boom and bust cycle, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is
the ultimate one.
Yeah, that there's that there is actually progress made when people who have learned things in a certain way and are unable to see them from a different angle.
Yeah.
That as long as they maintain authority, power, and credibility in a situation, then they will prevent new thinking from coming in. And so if we live an extended amount of time, well, Well, the other phrase is we don't solve problems, we just trade them.
Yeah.
And so if we extend our lives and we don't have that boom and bust of generations, as you're talking about, then we solve the problem of, early death, what we would think of as early death, but we create the problem of not handing over credibility potentially unless we predict that and weave it into the situation or the system.
Yeah.
Unless we account for it, that will be a problem that gets created.
Yeah. I think that the people not dying is kind of an example of perfect information.
All right.
Or could be an example of it.
So back to the original conversation, what's interesting is this idea that like you don't want to define magic. And I'm like, well,
I will,
and my brain, no, I know, but I mean, like you giving pushback illustrates the point from your perspective. And from my perspective, I'm like, well, the reason why I want to define it is because a bunch of people are going to argue about something that doesn't need to be argued about.
Sure.
As in, like, they're going to define magic in a certain way, which is not how we're defining it. And so they're going to come on and give pushback and be like, well, that's not how that works. And then they'll give this like argument that's like 1 degree of separation from what we were actually talking about because we use this word that evoked a specific definition in their mind. And so they're having that conversation, whereas we're having maybe this conversation, and then their pushback now becomes something that's irrelevant to what we're talking about. Does that make sense? It's like there's the value in not clarifying is that people get to kind of mull it over for themselves. But the disadvantage to not clarifying or creating strong definitions is that people end up now cross-talking. I mean, I saw this, like we did this
I
podcast on existential dysregulation not that long ago. And I talked about, like the idea of having, like believing that the universe is a friendly place. And this person's like, well, why would that be existential regulation? Why would thinking that the universe is a friendly place be regulation? And I'm like, no, the belief that the universe is a friendly place is not in and of itself regulation, obviously. Like you can believe whatever you want to. Dysregulation is when we get spiked, when we get all spun up, when we're out of control with our thoughts or where our brain is going or the patterns that we're making. So dysregulation is not the equivalent to any specific thought. But if a thought helps calm you, right? Like if you're in a place of existential dysregulation and somebody introduces the thought that the universe is a friendly place that has your back, it might be something that in that moment is calming, right?
Yes.
It might be something that helps you regulate your nervous system, which is now dysregulated based on like fear of the future or that the universe is out to get me or a bunch of other thoughts. And it's like, I find that people give pushback usually because they heard something, their brain went a certain place, they're having that conversation now. They're not actually super tuned into what, say in this podcast, what we're talking about or whatever. And then the pushback they give is usually almost always like, well, that's not what we said, or that's not exactly what we're saying. So I get to a place where I'm like, okay, but we got to define our terms and we got to make sure that we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
So that the arguments don't spiral out into cross-talking, right? But that's also me being on the other side of this issue of thinking perfect information helps us get to where we want to go faster. Like to me, it doesn't remove magic, however we're defining that, right? However you as an individual want to define that in your mind, because we're not going to do it for you, I guess. But the idea of it removing magic, actually, to me, it feels like it facilitates it more because now that perfect information allows us to at least be on the same page with what we're talking about, and then remove all of the fantasy, the irrelevant fantasy of the things we want to believe but are not matching reality.
Sure.
Because I think, weirdly enough, I think being a fantasist removes authentic magic. Like if we get caught up in a fantasy of reality and we think things, and we set a bunch of expectations up that way.
Sure.
Like life should be doing this for me, or this is how it should work. I feel like we're surrounded by fantasists, actually. I think that's one of the biggest challenges of the contemporary society is that we're filled with fantasists of how reality is supposed to work. And we've built those fantasies by being so many degrees of separation from like survival and the context that humans evolved in.
Yeah.
We're so kind of spoiled and so taken away from that we are in we're in a fantasy bubble of how reality is supposed to work.
Yeah.
And I feel like perfect information isn't just being up to date and communicating with each other. It's also reminding each other that, like maybe things, like reality isn't in agreement with your expectations.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
So can I kind of apply this towards something to see how it plays out, or do you, I don't want to interrupt.
Is my thought clear? I don't know if I can.
Yeah,
I don't know if I completed it.
Okay, keep going. I want to make sure.
I don't know if it's totally clear. Basically, all I'm saying is that when we indulge in fantasy and we don't have any reality to call us out about it,
sure,
then we build our expectations around those fantasies, and when reality starts to poke holes in it or starts to come after it, like when reality starts to be a bully to our fantasies,
yes,
then we're miserable and we're actually not in a place of like understanding the world is magical. But when we meet reality where it's at and we're not fantasists, reality also has a bunch of mysteries, things that have not been figured out, things that are like kind of amazing and astonishing to observe and witness. So to me, perfect information is like the best platform to go search for the things that are truly magical, truly mysterious, truly amazing, and not deal with these sort of lower level fantasies or being a fantasist that erode our joy of life because reality is not matching this concoction that we've built because we haven't ever had to like actually experience the real world.
Okay, so maybe I could give some concession to this idea of concentric circles of levels of perfect information.
Okay.
Like maybe it's unuseful to combat the idea of germ theory. We know how that works. It's not perfect information, but it's near perfect information about how I need to wash my hands. If somebody's like, I just believe you don't have to. I have a belief that I can live however I want and not get sick or whatever.
Yeah.
Now maybe there's some provision for that, because I think believe the science is bullshit as far as I'm concerned. It's like, come on, like you think you really know it all? Like there's always reasons why things aren't, there's always surprises, right?
It's because it's a nonsensical term because science is not asking for belief.
So at that level, maybe I could see your argument, but what I'm talking about is like right now there's a fantasy in the stock market. Mm-hmm. There is a fantasy about what AI is going to be able to do for us. Mm-hmm. That fantasy is driving more investment than the perfect information would give it. So in other words, people through the fantasy and the belief that something is going to be bigger than probably it's going to be, like in the way they think it's going to be, or it's going to be different than we think, a lot of energy based on this false premise and this fantasy, a lot of movement, attention, and directions being put into something that it probably won't go the way that it's imagined to go, but it would go further than if we operated from a defensive place of like, it probably won't work. Like if that fantasy wasn't in place. In other words, the fantasy won't be realized, but some step along the way toward that fantasy will be that wouldn't have been realized otherwise.
Almost like the faith that we put into it.
Yes.
Based on our inaccurate projections.
Gives us a surprise somewhere that actually is better than we could have ever imagined.
Right. Gives energy and life to it.
But we don't know what it would be. So we need the fantasy to drive it all forward for the thing that is derived from it.
Okay.
That's the premise I'm coming from. And without that, if I operate from, there's nothing that would surprise me about this chess game, metaphorically speaking. It's just a matter of total capacity, a closed system. If people perceive it to be, and it could be perception. Maybe there is no perfect information. It's only the perception of perfect information.
Yeah.
Guided and controlled by institutions that I'm like, oh my God, this could be, Netflix won't greenlight a movie now if it doesn't match the algorithm of perfect information that this would be watched by people.
Yeah.
Whereas Jack Warner in 1925 would just go, my gut likes the premise of this movie. Let's produce it. And here it's a hit. He just took a gamble on it.
Yeah.
But now perfect information is we're not going to greenlight that movie. We know those kinds of movies don't perform because the algorithm tells us. And so how many movies that are speculative that would be popular are never getting made because perfect information says no to it? There's no resource to go toward because we know the algorithm won't support it. But we know the history of humanity is proven time and time again. The skeptics, the people with the information, the people that know it all are often wrong when some maverick comes through and takes a gamble on something they have a gut instinct for, an intuition toward, and it works out. And I'm saying that time period is going to come to a very close, sharp end in the new AI world because people are going to be like, no, the science is settled. The reports are settled. The information is settled. There's no way this would ever work. We already know it doesn't. It's already settled. And I already see that now before AI. So I can't imagine AI is going to make this any better.
Well, okay.
Right?
So I've got a couple of things that I'm tagging. Yeah. The first one is perfect information does not give us a crystal ball into the future.
I would agree.
It's our ability to see, using the chess metaphor, it's our ability to see the board.
Probabilities, though. Maybe not exact endpoints.
Well, you can run probabilities, but that always assumes that there's not going to be a disruptive element. Like, I mean, this is to go back to chess.
Okay.
You see the board, you see your opponent, you've seen every piece, right? You've seen every move. And so both people have quote unquote perfect information with their relationship to the board. And depending upon how experienced a player they are, they can make predictions about what the person is doing. They can observe or spot a gambit, or they can, know their opponent because they've played with them before and knows that they like to bring their queen out early or whatever. Like, there's still, even in a situation of perfect information, there's still speculation that has to be woven in here. The future is not known. And so a part of the idea that we are going to overly lean on perfect information in order to make all of our choices, and then that's going to be a bad thing. In some ways, there's like a little bit of a premise here, and that perfect information will always give us totally reliable predictions. And I think that already we are questioning that premise. Like the idea that algorithms can make choices of the kinds of content we want to watch, or whether or not movies should be made if they don't follow a certain, formula or whatever. People are very fatigued by the kind of content that they're experiencing right now. And slice of life movies are sort of being like, we're hungry for them. And we're not, we have more than sated our appetite. And in fact, we've been gluttonous for superhero movies. Does anybody want another superhero movie? I mean, I guess like some people just can't get enough of them, and a whole generation has grown up on them, so they don't know that there's like an option to just not have them anymore. But as far as like, oh man, I can't wait for this next superhero movie to come out, is something that people don't say that often. It was kind of like, what was it, the Avengers Endgame, sort of like, maybe that should have been the last one for a long time, right? Because everything since then is just going downhill, and the appetite for those kinds of movies but if you were to take any formulas made around them for like the last 20 years of data, the perfect information would tell you that it's going to be watched, it's going to be a hit. But it would also tell you that those numbers are starting to go down. Like there was a crescendo, and then those numbers are starting to go down.
Sure.
So perfect, quote unquote, perfect information with really good predictive capacity would also say this is a time for, like the kinds of movies that are script heavy, human interest heavy, sort of slice of life. Like that's the direction that most people want to go at this point. And so, I say all of that to say that, that was my first point. My first point is that it's not necessarily predictive. And I think the second thing I was tagging based on everything you just said was that I think what you're talking about is a natural human tendency that will be married to something that feels godlike, but it will be technology, not necessarily like faith. So I think humans have done what you've been talking about. I think we've been doing it for a long time. We just didn't call it perfect information. We called it faith, which was, I know what God wants and what God doesn't want. Yeah. And so I'm going to make a bunch of decisions, unilateral decisions based on how I'm interpreting, say, scripture, or I'm interpreting, what God wants. And I'm going to make decisions based on that, and nobody can go against me because I have God on my side. Basically, what I'm hearing you say is that like AI is going to be the next iteration of humans doing that, which is like, no, AI is telling us this thing, and it's run all the information and run all the data, and it knows all of the research, and it knows, it's called all of this. And so you can't really argue with that because that's perfect information.
Yes.
And it's like, well, that's just saying God. That's all and nobody can go against it. And it's like, well, we've been doing that as humans for like a really long time.
This is getting ready to be brought into capacity level, not just thought level. Like, I don't want to interrupt you. Please continue the thought. But I have like, it's dying to get out.
Go.
So perfect information means that, I mean, this is how it's going to be applied, we know based on perfect information, it is risky to allow a human being to drive a vehicle. Like, we're going to know that very soon. That the safest thing to do is allow the AI grid to do self-driving vehicles writ large across all systems. And the nodes talk to each other. My car is in communication with your car on the freeway, and they can adjust in real time to speed, and the system knows where I'm going and it knows where you're going. So it can maximize the traffic flow based on algorithms to get me to my destination in the most efficient way possible. To drive myself would be inefficient and dangerous because I'm not tying in with the algorithms. Yeah. So to operate my motor vehicle without being tied to that grid, it's actually unacceptable. In a world with that perfect information system set up, it's not really reasonable for me to drive myself. It messes the whole system up. Yeah. So no one's going to allow that to happen. Like, once we realize that that's a better way, every perceiver now, personality type, can't be late for work. Right. There's no way to speed.
There's no wiggle room
on the freeway to get there.
Yeah.
You're going to have to be more planned. It's more of a judger world coming for us. Unless you pay extra money to like bypass on like the HOV lane or something and go faster, everyone's going to have to be on the same schedule. Like, it's going to bring everything down kind of to the same it's going to homogenize everybody's life a little bit. We're all going to have to be more planned. We already are now after the pandemic.
I know, it's gone so
I have to
judger.
make like reservations to go to Disney World, or at least I did recently. Like, you can't just show up to the gate anymore. You have to like plan things like a judger does.
Yeah.
So that perfect information's ruining somebody like me that just kind of engages with the system at will.
Yeah,
I have to now
with the flow.
Play with the system and engage with it on its timeline, not on my timeline. It won't meet me anymore as an individual.
Yeah.
All the individuals have to meet the system, and perfect information is going to make this worse.
Yes.
And so, and what it removes, weirdly enough, is me getting pulled over by the cop at 8:55 on my way to work and having a conversation with a police officer that unlocked some learning or some magic in my life, something I did not prepare for. And I don't know what that is. Maybe it's a down cycle magic. Like, I got punished something, I get a ticket, which causes a ripple effect, and I've got to do something else in my business or life to accommodate for it. But it's another variable element that got thrown into my life that I wasn't planning for, that a perfect information system would now remove from me. Mm-hmm. These little surprises, these little mistakes, and this is the thing that makes us human, is all the things that aren't good, that are broken, that are wrong. And as we perfect information more and more, we're going to lose our humanity, because the things that are surprises and mistakes and all of that, that's the humanity that we appreciate. And so the magic that I'm talking about is that it's gone forever with this perfect system that's coming. Now, not all systems work perfectly. There's always corruption. And I'm realizing the benefit of corruption now at such a level. I'm understanding why corruption is useful and good in a way. Right. Not moralistic, like bad behavior corruption, like somebody's heart bad, but I'm saying corruption in systems. Gold is not strong. Pure gold is not strong.
Right.
It needs some impurities to have strength to it. Otherwise it's soft and it just drips and it's just blah.
Yeah.
So you have to have some corruption into gold to make it strong.
Yes.
I'm realizing the value of this, and perfect information removes that on a long enough timeline, especially when it takes from the thought perfect information of what we know to the application of how we live.
Yeah.
And this is what I'm like, oh my God, that's coming for us faster than we know.
Well, I think that this assumes, and it's understandable why you would assume this, because it is the tendency of those who are wired to build the world, people who have extroverted thinking or effectiveness, right? Yeah. Like, they're the ones who are the world builders for the most part, that they love that kind of thing. They love perfect information and to be able to, to basically set systems like you would a watch, like make it as like elegant as possible and set all these systems up in the way that you're talking about it. So I can appreciate why there would be some hesitance there. I think what comes up for me as you're talking around all of that is, this idea of like, we're not going to be driving for that much longer. Yeah. I know what you mean.
That's just inevitable. Anybody can look at that and go, that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, we're going to have to go
clearly
full red barchetta if we want to.
Yeah, drive. That is inevitable. It's just a matter of how long it takes for the technology to get us there, and how long humans before we surrender to it.
Yeah,
that's the only variable here. But on a long enough timeline, it's inevitable. We'll all be in self-driving cars on the grid, networked.
By the same token, though, there's also what you're talking about is having thinking being overpowered in the world, which it tends to be, by the way. Thinking tends to be quite overpowered in the world. In fact, to a point right now where I feel like we're experiencing this like emotionally dysregulated context of society, because it's actually trying to undermine thinking's sort of dominance, because we make so many decisions based on pure problem solving that we have for a long time forgotten to add in the human element. Like, things were efficient, but were they humanized in their efficiency? We talk about how New York City, all that beautiful, walkable land that surrounds the island, Manhattan Island, got turned into a bunch of interstates and roadways, right? Yeah. All that beautiful walkable area is just a gross interstate. Yeah. And it's like, well, I mean,
mid-century concrete.
Yeah. And
Yay.
It's like, okay, I mean, it makes sense that you're trying to get around the island. So it makes sense that you're like, you would need to create something like that, but it stripped the humanness from it, like the human appreciation of being able to have walkable space, along a waterfront, and like the human capacity and the beauty of it and all of that stuff. So the last century did a lot of like overpowering thinking. So, the industrial age, everything's problem solving, technology's, going as fast as it possibly can. And so right now, what's interesting is that you would think that would have just kept going, but there was a disruption that happened, and the disruption is this massive infusion of feeling, right? In the last 20, 30 years, this insistence on throwing the human element in there.
Well, I think it started with the counterculture of the 60s. Mm-hmm. I think that was a resistance to the industrial model. Mm-hmm. It was saying back to the land, back to basics, love, free love, like whatever, like this industrial, whatever this whole industrial thing, we're rejecting
Anti-war.
We're going to go the other direction now. Mm-hmm. And now they bought back in to the industrial model by the 80s, right? The boomers were rejected in the 60s, live in this weird, like, brown and green chaos for the 70s. And then they enter the
I didn't sell out. I didn't sell out, son. I bought in.
Yeah. Go, like 80s, right? Credit and like all the markets and all that. So it's weird how their story was, but at least then the profit generation was like, we reject this.
Yeah, well, and I think, even like the, what we thought of as political correctness in the 90s, and then a lot of the, the social, everything is socially constructed mentality of the teens. And, right now we're seeing this major values clash happening right now.
Yeah.
At least in this country. I think we're all playing hungry hippo for whatever values will be set in the next saculum in generational theory. Like, we're at the end of a saculum in generational theory. We're almost to the total war. A new saculum is going to start anywhere in the next 5 to 10 years, according to that theory. And I think we're all like trying to, as fast as humanly possible, play hungry hippo to get our values set as like whatever is going to dominate the next saculum. Now, I've also said that I don't think it's going to matter that much, because the next saculum is going to be dominated by technology. Obviously, it's going to be artificial intelligence. It's going to be robotics. It's going to be a bunch of stuff that's going to make Bitcoin, all of, crypto, blockchain technologies, all of that stuff. Like energy is going to be a massive player in the next saculum. So these are the things we're actually going to be worrying about. All of this social stuff. It's going to be, we'll remember it. It'll be like in future children's history books.
It'll be like a poodle in the handbag, though, in comparison to what we're going to be dealing with next. It seems significant right now, but it's not going to be in relation to what's coming.
That's right. We're all going to think of that. These were teenage concerns.
Yes.
Right. When we become like adults in the next saculum, we're going to be like, oh, these are real things. Right.
Yeah.
So
those big stuff's coming.
But by the same token, I think it has been a reaction against this concept of what you're calling perfect information, or the result of perfect information. Yeah. Everything being based on, because perfect information is also effectively built on the transfer of communication, speed of communication, really. It's like, why do we have perfect information? Because we can almost immediately create a 3D model of any situation anywhere on the planet at any given time. We can like just immediately know, have a technological breakdown or a spec breakdown on anything that's going on at any time, because we have the surveillance, we have the history, we have we have everything we need in order to like look at a situation and go, this is what's going on there. And so it's like it's just instantaneous information. And so the speed of communication has been getting faster and faster and faster. But the last generation, or the last, not generation, but century, like that's really what it was. It was like, how quickly can we speed up communication on a global level? And so we've been getting more and more perfect information for a while now. It's one of the reasons why we haven't had a massive stock market crash like 1929 since 1929 for the most part. I mean, I know we've had other crashes, but not like that. And like you said, it's because...
Well, we also knew how to recover. Like 2008, people didn't agree with how they recovered the markets.
Right.
but they knew what to do to recover the
That's
markets. And you could argue that wasn't the right choice, but it did ultimately recover the markets.
Correct.
A lot of people got hurt there, and it was not okay how they did it, but they knew how the mechanisms worked enough to fix it. So it didn't end up like the Great Depression.
Right. And so we have been leaning on this for a long time.
Yeah.
And the disruptive, quote unquote, technology is this massive infusion of like humans pushing against it as being like real solutions. Now, you can get all conspiracy theory, and I'll get my tinfoil hat on by saying things like, well, it might be orchestrated intentionally by the powers that be because chaos is ladder.
Sure.
Like we might be being manipulated into having all of this, like,
You think?
Yeah.
Just we go on social media. I'm pretty sure we're all being pushed to kill each other and
100%.
hate each other.
Yeah,
of course.
100%.
Of course it's being manufactured by somebody.
But
or
there's
multiple entities.
But I think the reason why they're able to do that is because what they're capitalizing on is the human desire to get feeling back into everything, like values back into everything. I think that we're hungry for that.
Sure.
So I guess the counterpoint to what you're talking about is even in a time period in the future where perfect information, I mean, like, does perfect information, or like you could even say the thinking functions and their ultimate desire to have the best information possible to make the best decisions, or excuse me, to solve the most problems. Do we have to see that as dominating us? Whatever gets spit out in these algorithms and you know, large language models, or at that time it'll be like general intelligence and all that stuff. Like whatever is coming down the pike, do we have to see it as something that we obey? Do we have to give it godlike powers? Do we have to see it as like the final authority on things?
Yeah.
Or can we more see it as what is our relationship to perfect information? As opposed to like feeling like I have to obey it, can I more like be grateful that we have an avenue to have that much information so quickly, but also recognize, and this is the point of functions. Honestly, this goes down to the whole point of learning cognitive functions is a constant and perpetual reminder that whatever channel of operation, whatever channel of cognition that you prefer, it is just one of 8. Right.
Sure.
Or a more reduced down, 1 of 4, right? Thinking, feeling, intuition, and sensing. Whichever one is the one that you like, it's just one of them. And it doesn't like to give it outsized power.
Yes.
Is to throw the ecosystem off. And so that's what we see. We see outsized power being given to thinking. And so feeling comes in a big way and pushes against it and throws every value it has at it, right? And tries to take down the whole system because values have not been represented enough. And what we're seeing right now is the opposite. It's like the pendulum swinging back. It's like, okay, we've done enough feeling for a while, all right? Everybody cool their tits and stop with the whole values thing, right? Like, let's get back into some problem solving, shall we? And so now we're going back to the thinking side. And I think that's an inevitable disruptor, and everything is going to be like the natural order is whenever we overdo one side, the other side comes in ferociously to try to balance the system.
I would say Philip K. Dick's Minority Report is a cautionary tale of perfect information. Basically, he's envisioning in that story a world where we know it's known motivations. Like we even have enough information, we can predict motivations.
Yeah.
And we could
or
stop intent and motivation before somebody takes an action against it.
Right.
That's how perfect our information is. And they actually have law enforcement that uses the intent behind something to stop a crime.
Right.
And are we under any delusion that if we had that ability to know that, we wouldn't use it? We wouldn't act upon it. And I think that if we have the capacity for Minority Report, it's going to be inevitable, and it will be here. We will be doing that because they're already trying it. Like in the UK right now, there's like just intending something. People are getting arrested from what I can tell online. Maybe I'm seeing misinformation, but it looks like people are getting arrested for posting things on social media with just some intentional words. Like they're not even taking any actions. They're just posting things like their opinions.
Right.
And this is before AI. This is before we can actually see the real intent like they do in Minority Report, and they're already getting arrested. So if we're doing at this level, I can't imagine with perfect information, we're going to do less of it. Well, hey, we know that person's going to commit murder. We're not going to arrest them. Like, no, if we know the intent and the desire somebody has, we're going to try to stop it. We're absolutely going to try to stop that.
That's just basic thought policing, though. I don't think that's based on intention. I think it's just if people are getting arrested for the things that they post on social media, that's just your good old, old-fashioned thought policing and making it so that there are certain thoughts or certain opinions that are unacceptable and in fact are prosecutable. And so I don't know if that's necessarily trying to stop an individual's behavior before it gets out of hand. I think it's just...
Why would you arrest somebody for having an opinion then, if you're not trying to prevent them from taking action on that opinion? Just for having an opinion, you're being arrested? Like, that's nuts. So I would assume it's always connected to action or potential action.
I think it's more about coalition. I think it's like, it's
not
power.
It's a power grab.
It's a power grab. Like, it's less about... So
it's not trying to prevent something bad from happening.
Yeah, it's less about a single individual's opinion than it is about that person finding a whole bunch of other people that agree with them.
Sure.
And then it's the behavior of the group. That's the problem, because they'll vote a certain way. They'll demand certain things. They'll have certain expectations. They'll push against certain policies. And then if it gets bad enough, they'll, it could turn into an overthrow. That's always the fear.
Perfect information makes it so the police now in the UK can see what people's opinions are on social media. And it's causing suffering. Yet, proving my point yet again, more information is not helping things. It's hurting things, because people used to just say these opinions to each other privately, but now the police can see them. And so now it's causing a problem. And so I think perfect information or more information causes suffering. I really do. Well,
and as horrifying as it is that people are put into or being arrested for posting their opinions, I actually like that I know that Britain is doing that. I mean, it's horrible for the individuals that it's being done to, but a part of the perfect information is also we get to, on our side, see what's happening, and then we get to take cautionary tales. Like, I mean, what I'm seeing across the pond makes me double down on the things that I think are really important for me, which of course I've said that the one it's not really, I don't think it's a political opinion. I think it's just like a core principle that I stand on, and it doesn't matter what the context is, which is freedom of speech. This is a hill I'll die on. It's from being raised in a cult. This includes all forms of speech, right? Like I'm everything that is anything shy of an order that a person gives another person to do harm. So that's not freedom of opinion. That's a command, right? Sure. So not all speech in the sense of like if a person gives a direct command to somebody to go cause harm, that's not just opinions. But anything that falls in the introverted thinking, this is my opinion about reality, I don't care how awful it is protected as far as I'm concerned. And so and yeah, it absolutely is the result of growing up in a cult where I was not allowed to say or say certain things, sure, which messed with my ability to think certain things, right? You have to be able to express in order to hear yourself say them out loud in order to be able to like refine your thoughts.
Agreed.
Anyway, like I don't have to go down that road that much because I probably have said it in other places. But the point of all of that is it's like when I see that happening in other places, I want to know that that's what's going on, because then it affords me an ability to start to think, okay, what if that starts coming to my country? Right? Like how am I going to react and respond to that? And other than just being, like impotent and not really having a lot of capacity because I don't have very much influence in, the politics of my country, I still have a capacity to form an opinion around it and then start to make plans. But if I didn't know that that was what was going on over there, then I wouldn't be able to make plans, right? I wouldn't be able to like go like, okay, if I start to see those things happening over here, then I'm gonna help too. So perfect information isn't just for the other side, it's also for your side. Like everybody's watching the board. Everybody gets to see all the moves.
Well, I think to your point, that's the idea of Bitcoin. Is Bitcoin's perfect information. We see publicly all transactions, all holdings. It's out in the open. There's a limited supply. There's no, governments cheat all the time by printing money. They skew perfect information. They disrupt and they obfuscate the economy by going into debt by printing fiat cash.
Right.
And they cause challenges there, and each government's kind of obscuring their tack in it, and it's a way for them. So I can understand, in that it's like you want your enemies to use money that you can see just as much as they want you to use money that you can see. It's kind of like everybody's showing if everyone's showing their cards, no one can hide.
Correct.
And that's the idea behind like something like Bitcoin as an example. Well, open protocols.
Yeah.
And the internet's not as open protocol as it was in the early days. I kind of, so maybe it's the mechanism of how it's, because I'm a huge Bitcoin supporter. Mm-hmm. I like the perfect information there.
Yeah.
So now I'm questioning, like, why do I think that's okay? It doesn't feel like that's controllable by any entity, though. It can't be weaponized in some way. Maybe it's truly independently perfect information. It's not something that somebody holds. So maybe I've got some, in my thinking here, maybe there is a break in, like, because I'm curious why I'm okay with Bitcoin and not maybe self-driving cars.
Right. Well,
because self-driving cars are still centrally controlled somewhere, I think. It's not an open protocol.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it feels like it'll be weaponized and controlled by a singular entity or singular entities that can weaponize it or take sovereignty from the individual or the group, the people. And so maybe that's where maybe I need to go further into this more and really understand the distinctions.
Well, and it feels like, this kind of feels like an extroverted thinking versus introverted thinking argument. Yeah, because extroverted thinking or effectiveness, we talk about how it favors candor, and introverted thinking or accuracy favors transparency.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because extroverted thinking effectiveness is not a deception function. It's not one that lies, but it is one that will hide information if it believes that information will be used against it.
It will use information like resource. So it turns it into something usable, meaning it might obscure something else here.
Exactly.
A top 10 list is usable because of what's not on it.
Right. Exactly.
And that's a choice to be made.
Yes.
That's extroverted thinking. These are the top 10 things.
Yeah.
Everything else is not as good as these.
Right.
And that's the utility there.
Yes.
It's not, so it's showing some information to communicate an entirety of something.
And it makes sense that if all information is actionable, if you're like going to interface with information, you're going to start watching how it's used. You're going to watch how information is weaponized and used and applied and all of that stuff.
So maybe perfect information applied is what I'm talking to more than just understood.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Maybe that's what we could come down to is I've got a little bit more of a nuance here, thinking, like walking through the thinking here.
Whereas for me, using introverted thinking or accuracy, like I'm always for transparency for the most part. Like I'm less tuned into how it's being used against each other. And actually, I don't find that information is used against me that often. It is sometimes, but not that often. And I think introverted thinking users or accuracy users, particularly if it's a preferred function, don't experience information being used against them as much as other people do. I think it's just like we have a little bit of Teflon for that. But I will say for you, one of your values is sovereignty.
Yeah.
And I think this idea that perfect information can be used in a dominance or control way.
It takes away individual sovereignty.
It just that's one of your core values.
Yes.
Is personal sovereignty. And so the idea that perfect information could be used to start removing your sovereignty, removing your freedoms is deeply distressing, and I can totally understand that.
By the way, I'd be curious, you watching or listening right now, do you see information as actionable? Like information is applied and actionable? That's you almost can't think of information or knowledge outside of an application of it. Or are you more the type that's more theoretical? It's just information for its own sake, whether it's applied or not. Like you can just play with information, or typically they fall along these function lines and personality type, but I'd be curious what you would say as you're watching or listening. How do you see information? And maybe unpack that. Like maybe you could give us, it's more actionable, but then give me the story of why you see it that way.
Well, and give us your type too.
And if you know your best fit personality type, that'd be really interesting too, to get a conversation around this. Like, is information actionable for you, or is it just understandable, like just understood or worked with for its own sake?
Yeah.
That would be curious to get that combo going. Okay. So we probably should land the plane here soon around this, but I think thank you for the conversation, because I think I've refined my thinking around it, which is everything I can think of. I think I am applying it more than just application. But then I guess Bitcoin's sort of applied too. I'm still trying to understand why I'm okay with that. I think because it's open protocol.
It's open protocol, and it
feels federated.
It's the transparency is not gerrymandered.
Yeah.
It's not like it's transparent here, but not here.
It's always transparent in all contexts for all people. I mean, you can obscure some things, but that's not, the system isn't obscured.
Well, and I think
network.
That's the point of like leaning into quote unquote perfect information, is it's like, is the whole thing transparent?
Yeah.
Now, in game theory, everything's transparent except for maybe like your opponent's thought processes around it. Sure. And that's when things in a game become, they become interesting, but they also become threatening. It's like, how is the other person going to use this information against me?
Yeah.
In order to win, or, to create that, because most game theory is like a zero-sum game. Most games are zero-sum. Somebody loses, somebody wins. And so I can appreciate why the idea that there was like time period, like this, we're moving into a time period where it becomes more and more difficult to hide information that another person could weaponize. You know, it's like if CCTV's going everywhere, I mean, worst case scenario, like you're going to be caught picking your nose like 100 times in your lifetime, right? Yeah. I mean, that's the most benign example of something that you don't want to get caught on CCTV.
Yeah.
All the way up to doing things that are, you know, like inadvisable, maybe even illegal, technically or whatever, but are harmless, you know, like jaywalking or whatever. So there's a bunch of things that we do all the time that go against our technical laws or whatever, but are actually pretty harmless.
Yeah.
But we start surveilling everything, and now it's like, well, it's not that you did something wrong. It's that if somebody's trying to get you, all they have to do is go back into the archives and find every instance of you doing something technically wrong and then use it against you.
Well, and maybe not even that personal, but just because we have tracked it, now somebody has the job to go through this footage and just see if anyone's committed a crime.
Right, exactly.
Whereas it would have just passed by and we would never have. But the perfect information now is like we can go back and we can retroactively see. Just review this 8 hours of footage on this CCTV. Did any crimes occur? Let's bring those to the forefront. Whereas, you know, smoking in that spot, no one would have known.
Right.
So we didn't find them. But now we know they smoked outside that restaurant.
So
they weren't supposed
fined.
to. Now they're getting a fine. It's like, I again think perfect information is going to ruin our world, but because it's going to be used this way. It's going to be like always reviewed, and it's always like you're never going to hide from it. It's all your foibles and your sins will follow you for the rest of your life. Your mistakes will never go away. They're publicly known. It's going to just be this weight of barnacles we drag around with us all the time.
Well, it will.
It's awful.
It will until we stop caring because we get inured. Because that's the other, like I said, there's always like a counter moves and counter moves, right? There's always like a counter. Like, I mean, think about 25 years ago, if some like Disney actress got leaked photos of her nude, like she'd have to come out with a public apology. Right, they were her own personal photos.
You're talking about that something really happened.
Mm-hmm.
20 years ago, there was
20-something years ago, right?
Not a child actress. She was an adult.
No, like an adult.
But she had previously been a Disney actress.
Yeah, she was like she had been in Disney movies.
Okay.
And
she had nudes that came out.
Nudes that she sent privately to somebody.
And culturally, she felt obligated to apologize to the culture and society for this.
And like, even though they were her private photos that she sent to somebody and never expected them to get leaked. Yeah, like she got pressured into and felt an obligation to apologize to society that these photos even existed. And then not 5 or 7 or maybe 10, I don't think it was a full 10 years later, but it was like like less than 10 years later, a massive leak happened where all these people's private photos got leaked, you know, all these celebrities' private photos got leaked, and the attitude was completely different, which was like, how dare you think that you have access to my photos? Like, if you see that there's a leaked photo of me naked, delete it before you look at it, because it's actually you're responsible for looking at my photos, right? Because I didn't leak them to you. So they're not your business and they're not your property. That is an 180-degree difference. And what happened in those 10 years? Why did it go from, I'm so sorry that these photos exist, to, if you look at them, you're the person who's doing something shady? Well, what happened is that so many leaked photos happened in that 10 years, we just got inured to it. We stopped going, this is the worst thing ever. We just went, okay, there's another batch, right? We just got inured to this idea. And then we also got to kind of reevaluate our relationship to this. And we kind of started going like, well, if it's happening for everybody, then it's probably not that big of a deal. It's probably pretty natural or normal. And then now what happens if somebody's like stuff is leaked?
Yeah.
Like, this is a big shrug. And so in the world you're talking about, I could see it going kind of like dystopian for a little while. But I also think human nature, unless people in positions of responsibility and control start to really leverage it in a truly dystopian future, which I don't see that as the most likely scenario. I see it as one of the many possibilities, but I don't think I don't put my chips on that one being the one that's going to happen.
Well, yeah.
I think in the perfect world, we're going to kind of get inured to a bunch of stuff. Yeah. Like, we're going to go, why do we have these dumb laws?
Well, I think I would have used to agree with you until after the lockdowns, the pandemic, when, you know, I've always thought Big Brother is a problem.
Yeah.
Big Brother being the government that's got its eye over you.
Yeah.
But what the pandemic taught me is Little Brother is a much bigger challenge. than Big Brother. Like my neighbor
Yeah.
turning me in for like being outside without a mask or
Which didn't happen, by the way.
No, I didn't have that issue,
Right,
but I'm saying like
but
I
somebody
saw,
did.
I've seen these things and I'm like, what
Yeah.
the heck? And like, there were things I wasn't allowed to talk about. Like I couldn't talk about certain perspectives or anything in
Without
public
getting dogpiled.
discourse without getting,
Yeah.
you know, and even after like certain laws weren't on the books, there was still a cultural expectation to meet certain masking and
Right.
like, there's all these expectations and rules that, yeah, I understand a government agency or the powers that be, you know, Hunger Games, there's going to be the enforcers that come in.
Right.
But I never thought my own citizens would be little brother turning on me as much
Yeah.
and everybody else. I didn't think that the populace itself would surrender to its own slavery. I'm
Yeah.
like, holy crap. Well,
Yeah.
like, please chain me up, sir.
Yeah.
Give me another. I'm like, that I did not factor that calculus in. And so I'm like sitting here
Right.
going, and it wasn't that bad. I mean,
Yeah.
it was bad for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And it was bad. I mean, we had some challenges there too.
Yeah.
But it wasn't as bad as it could have been. It was
No.
just a preview of what could be. And
Yeah.
I'm going,
It wasn't like communist China. It wasn't like
yeah, I don't,
turning
but
turning
I
people
did,
in for.
did erode my trust and faith in like, oh no, if authoritarianism comes in, like people will, in my country, especially in America, will say something,
Yeah.
free speech, and push back. And I didn't see that happen. I'm like, I mean,
Yeah.
people did, but not to the level that it actually took care of it.
Right.
And I'm going, oh my God, like we are so screwed with perfect information. We're so screwed. And
But I
not,
would
and I'm
even-
not saying any commentary on COVID. I think it was a real disease. I think we
Yeah.
actually had to take some measures. I'm not
Yeah,
even,
yeah.
I'm not like an anti-COVID person. Like I
Right.
think it was real.
Yeah.
I just watched people respond and reinforce their own slavery. And I'm like, this is not good.
Well,
We are in so
What we saw
big
was
trouble.
a lot of overreaction. That's what you're talking about was overreaction and then it turning political.
But policing it was just nuts.
And
I was-
policing was part of the overreaction for sure. And it
I
was
mean, not
it
like
was,
literal policing. I mean, like
Yeah.
policing each other.
yeah, like
social
little brother policing. Yeah.
Signaling and all this stuff.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's because it got mushed up and merged in with a bunch of political, you know,
Anyway.
alignment, and so then it became not just.
Yeah.
And I think that's in some ways, I'm kind of glad we're experiencing all of this right now. In some ways, I'm glad that because even what you're talking about right there, it's like the contingent of people who want more government meddling, right? And I don't say like government oversight because there's a point to go. Like we need to have government oversight. We need to have government policies. We need to have government leadership. Like it's important, right?
Well, government is like a utility. It provides and protects.
100%.
But it shouldn't tell me how to live my life. It's not my pastor at my church.
Correct.
Like I don't understand why it tells me my social obligations and what I should do. Like it's not my
And
social God.
It is not. Yeah.
And people that turn their social conditioning over to the government, I don't understand them.
Or expect the government to back their values.
Yeah, I don't.
And
like,
to
that's not the
enforce their
job. Like,
values.
that's not its job.
And in some ways, it's kind of good that it's happening right now because there's a lot of fatigue around that.
Yeah.
Like people are kind of getting done with that idea that, and it kind of doesn't matter what your political position or value position is. Nobody wants a government like pushing any sort of values alignment
Yes.
because there's always going to be, well, that's a zero sum game. There's always going to be a bunch of losers.
Yeah.
Right. Because it's like, we can't, I mean, in the country we live in, you go down almost absolutely every single political issue and it's like a 50-50 split. So what do you do there?
Yeah.
Right. Like, what do you do when 50% of the country has these values and 50% of the country has these values? What do you do? Who gets to win? And the answer is
Nobody.
nobody if the government's going to enforce one of those sides. But if the government stops enforcing those and goes, that's actually not our job to enforce any sort of worldview or value.
We're just a platform for you to live your lives on top of.
That's right.
We're not going to tell you how to live your life.
That's right.
We're just providing for you to live your life.
Correct. Exactly. And so that's the only way you have winners. And then it's because you're not being, I mean, you don't really even, it's not that you have winners in that situation. You just don't have like a bunch of losers, basically.
Yeah.
So the point of all of that is the idea that whenever there's like an intense, almost like, oh God, this is a terrible sign moment, maybe it's just my quote unquote faith in the pattern of cycles because I know everything is a cycle. Everything does a 180 and then does a 180 again, and then it does a 180 again. But the point of cycles in this way is that they spiral up. That's kind of the point. The point is like, as long as we're spiraling up, it's okay. And the little brother sort of behavior of turning your neighbor in for dumb, stupid infractions or whatever, that almost always gets kind of that gets like a pushback energy. Like it almost always does. It almost gets kind of like a 180, like we don't want to do that anymore. In the same way that like eventually we just become tired of superhero movies. It's like, can I just have something with like a nice coming of age story, or like, can't we just have some, like somebody die and everybody else has to like figure out what that means to them? Like, can't we have one of those movies? Like a sweet love story, or, you know, somebody's got to go through chemo, or like
Iron Man 17.
Like, do I have to watch yet another green screen movie with like explosions that I can see that, like, you know, they did that in post?
Tight pants.
Do I have to do that? Like, I just want a nice chemo story. So, do you know what I mean? Like, it's like, you know, I want to like,
I know what you mean.
have
There's
my heart
a
ripped
nice
out.
chemo story is not maybe how I'd couch it, but yes, I get what you.
Where I like understand the human condition a little bit more, and like put myself through that situation. Go like, oh, this is what I learned about myself from watching it. Like, I want one of those. Anyway, so in the same way, the one thing that you can rely on with human nature is that it's going to like push back against whatever just happened.
Yeah.
And so
Reaction.
Yeah, like we are a reactionary species.
Sure.
And so I think when it comes to this, I suspect that if we go through like a highly surveilled, perfect judger, have to pre-plan everything, we'll never be able to be late because all self-driving cars will get there exactly on time, and there's no wiggle room, and there's no freedom of expression, and there's no figuring ourselves out by doing wrong things. I think it will be like that for a time. Actually, I kind of predict that it will. And then I think there's going to be a reaction to it. And that's what's really fascinating, is that what will be the reaction to a world built like that based on perfect information?
It won't be perfect information. It'll be somebody trying to skew it, break it, dissent against it, not have perfect information.
Yeah.
Proving my point from the beginning. I don't know if proving my point.
Or just focusing on one of the other channels.
But definitely it's
not just
be,
the thinking channel.
Yeah. And it'd be interesting to see how this plays out, because I don't think I have it right, but I think some of my
of course you don't.
But I think some of my concerns are valid. You don't have it right. Yeah. My concerns are real.
I'm sorry, Joel. Your feelings are wrong and your problems are stupid.
Fair enough. So if you've been listening or watching, we want to hear from you. What's coming up for you? Are you seeing the future like this? Are you seeing perfect information as a good thing? I mean, there's an argument to be made that, you know, if people would just surrender to the God of perfect information and AI, your life could go better. Don't fight against it. Just surrender that the GPS always has the best route to get there, the most effective and efficient route. I've already surrendered to the GPS in my car. I very rarely go against my GPS. I very rarely do. And so one can make the argument like, well, perfect, you can always make a choice against it. It's like, but why would you? I never assume my GPS is going to be inefficient to get me there. I always assume that it's always giving me the most efficient route to get there, barring any surprise along the way, like traffic, but even it's accommodating for that. It's starting to weave that into the factor as well. So now, if we're going to drive from here to Washington, D.C., and it tells me there's two different routes and one is shorter than the other, I'm going to believe it, and I'm going to go the route that's shorter. I'm never going to go, no, I know better than that perfect information. So even if I wish that humans would counter against it, I don't think we will, because even as much as I'm opposed to it, I don't actually oppose it when it actually is applied.
Yeah, that's probably why you're scared of it.
So if I have a problem with it and don't oppose it when it's applied, people that aren't even thinking about this certainly aren't going to be like, no, I'm not going to do what it recommends. Well, so we're going to inevitably, because no one's thinking about it, be caught up in this by default, and it will just be the reality of the future. Well, I mean, I don't think I'm wrong about that, but I hope I am. I hope I am. I hope I'm not seeing something that will skew this a different direction. In
some ways, though, humans are always looking for something to hand their authority over to.
Sure.
Like that's like the vast majority of us are pre-wired to follow, not to lead.
Sure.
And that's a feature, not a bug, right? Like it's and we might be pre-wired to lead in some contexts, but in most contexts, humans are sort of pre-wired to hand themselves over to some sort of authority outside of themselves, because authority feels like it's stripping uncertainty away. Like we don't really deal with uncertainty very well. And handing ourselves over to authority figures feels like they're the ones who now have to deal with the uncertainty. So we've been kind of, the thing you're talking about, we've been doing for a super long time. We've just been calling it something else. We've been calling it God.
Well, no, we've switched from, maybe in that way we did, but authority is more tied to perfect information, perfect resource capture. Whereas I would say maybe our hunter-gatherer ancestors weren't dealing with authority as much as they were opportunity. The environment would dictate, quote unquote, the authority of what was possible or not. Like, well, that tree doesn't have fruit, so I got to go find a new place to get my food source.
Yeah.
It's less about obeying somebody and obeying the stimulus that's causing me to react against it. So so authority, I think, is a very human invention that's in society of, like, I don't know if that we're wired to just hand ourselves over to authority outside of that closed system.
Well,
so I don't want to get into this now because we got to wrap up.
I know.
But that's a whole nother thing that I think on that front.
Except that really early on, we were like, well, why isn't the fruit-bearing trees? Well, because it hasn't rained. Well, why hasn't it rained? Well, because the gods are upset.
Sure.
That came on the scene super early.
Yes.
And so it was like, okay, well, how do we get the gods to be happy with us? And it's like, well, you do this dance, or you leave your daughter to die of exposure on the mountain, or whatever.
Or you leave that closed system and you go to new opportunities, is what I'm saying. Like, the authority is inside of the system that's not working the way it was supposed to. You leave, or you just go, oh, the gods aren't angry. We just are in the wrong place. And we just go to this field with the ripe trees, with the hunting grounds that are fertile.
Yeah.
So there's two different approaches. One is you stay here and you pray to the gods, they'll change the circumstances, or you get up and you change the circumstances. And what I'm saying is the authority idea of handing our authority over is in that context usually.
Yeah. Well,
and if you just change the circumstances, that authority stuff is like, that's societal, that's like social constructed.
But that happens super early. Like,
I agree.
Who gets to decide whether or not we do the rain dance, or whether or not we move the village, or not the village, but the tribe?
I can concede that comes.
We hand that over to the authority figures, right? The elders or whatever, or the shaman. And then they tell us what to do. And we go, okay, we're going to do that because, and there's like one shaman and there's like maybe 5 elders.
And sometimes that rain dance doesn't work. And sometimes it does. We don't have perfect information, so we just play with it. But with perfect information, that authority now would be impenetrable.
Well, what I'm saying though is that I'm not talking about the mechanism. I'm talking about the instinct of humans to hand themselves over to authority.
Sure. Okay.
Like
okay. Yes.
We've just been wanting to do that forever. Like we want somebody else to
I'll agree to that.
bear the burden and shoulder the responsibility of dealing with uncertainty.
Correct.
And we don't want it to be us. And so usually
it's mom or dad. I mean, that's our first authority we hand it over to.
That's our first experience with it.
Yeah.
But most of us do that until the day we die. In our 90s, we're looking for authority, like an authority figure to hand our sovereignty over to as much as possible. And as long as we get enough sovereignty to be able to like decide the brand of mustard we're going to buy, usually we're pretty happy to like let other people be the boss or be in a position of leadership. One of the big delusions of the contemporary world is that every single person is a born leader. And it's not, and that's not a problem to say, because we don't know where leaders come from. They can come from literally anywhere. So we want to have everybody, no matter what context they come from, we want them to think that they might be a leader, because we don't, like, if somebody is an outrageously amazing leader, but they come from a context we wouldn't normally expect it, we want them to be fostered into leadership. Sure. So it's not a terrible thing to tell everybody that anybody can be a leader.
Yes.
Right. That's like a really helpful belief, because we want leadership. We want good, solid, talented, like instinctive, pre-wired leaders. We want them to come from wherever they come from, because we need good leadership.
It's not the family you're born into or something like that.
That's right. Not your socioeconomic level, not your family, not your race, not your gender. Like, good leaders come from literally anywhere. And so we want to be able to say that. But what ended up getting marketed isn't that anybody can be a good leader, no matter what no matter where they start. It's that everybody is a leader, and you need to see yourself that way. And the reason why that's that's good marketing if you're like want to sell somebody on an idea or a fantasy around it. But the challenge is that creates expectations inside of people that make them feel deeply uncertain. And so unhappiness like spikes. Like, a bunch of people get like really unhappy because they think that they're supposed to be some sort of like epic leader, but they don't necessarily have the chops for it, because leadership is taken, not given. And so they don't necessarily have the will for it or the drive or the talent or even the desire. They don't know they don't have the desire. They've just been told they're supposed to. And so then they get really unhappy and miserable in their jobs, or they get really unhappy and miserable in their life. And they're like, wait, why aren't people giving me leadership? And it's like, because nobody gives anybody leadership. Leadership is not given.
Yeah.
It's like taken always. And so, so I got off on a little tangent.
I'm trying to connect it to what we're talking about.
That the perfect information authority structure is actually not going to necessarily make people unhappy. It might actually make more people happy because they have something that is quote unquote like God.
Yeah.
Without it being do we do a rain dance? You know, like it's a bunch of mysterious fantasy.
I think you're right.
Authority. This is going to be perfect information authority.
I think you're right. And that's what I'm fearing, is because the perfect information system will say, but look at how many people are happy. You can't argue with these numbers. Stop fighting against it, Joel. Just surrender to it. Surrender your sovereignty to the system. Most people are happy in it. Stop fighting against it. And then the people that could be happy outside of it will be unallowed to be happy outside of it, because you're right. The majority of people would be happy just being told what to do. And you're absolutely right.
And if AI understands anything about human cycles, if it's built on any sort of model of human development, it will weave in a component or like a contingent of humans that are always trying to go outside the system, because that's also born in. Just like most people are followers is born into us, and that's a feature, not a bug. There's a contingent of rebels that are always, no matter what system you're a part of, even if it's a fantastic system, they're still going to rebel against it, because that's also born into humans. And so a perfect system with perfect information will allow a contingent of rebels, kind of Matrix style, actually. It's almost like allowing all of those people to fight to get outside the Matrix was actually like sort of part of the system itself, to give those people something to do because they were going to do it anyway. You know what I mean? And so I don't know, like I
can see your point. I can see your point.
There's always odds that pop up from evens in spiral dynamics. You know what I mean?
I hope you're right.
Yeah. All right. We'll have to see. Maybe we'll live long enough to be able to see how this all
I don't want to have a
out.
negative view of this, and I would love to feel, I don't really have, it's not negative. It's just, it's
bracing.
It's hard for me to see outside of it. Yeah. And I don't, it's like, it's complete in my head. It's like, I want to see obfuscate. I want to see something different than this. So I'm not trying to hold on to this or harbor it. It's just, I'm like seeing it going, wow, this is really not going to be great. At least for me personally. Maybe I'm the only person that will suffer under it. And I could accept that. Maybe I'm literally one out of 8 billion that would be against this.
I think there'll be a place for you, Joel.
I don't think there will be. But I'm not just, but there's going to be a lot of people that react to it, but they're also not thinking, like they're not reacting to it with thought. They're just reacting because it's just a thing.
Yeah.
I don't want to be lumped into that. I'm not just, oh, this is bad because it's new.
Right. You're not a rebel.
I'm genuinely looking at it going, I don't think this is healthy for us.
Yeah.
And I think that we're signing up for, I don't think we know what we're signing up for.
Yeah.
And,
well,
they already have satellite systems that have taken pictures of every blade of grass on the surface of the earth.
I know.
There's nowhere to hide.
So
I just like, and I'm like, I guess that's good, but why would you ever, if you're not doing anything wrong, why would you ever need to hide? And it's like, well, not hide, but privacy, or I don't know. I'm just like, there's going to be end of all those things. You're always going to be monitored, watched, and fully understood and tracked.
Yeah.
And maybe that's good. Maybe there's nothing bad with that if you're not doing anything quote unquote wrong. But also, when I go to the bathroom, I'm not doing anything wrong, but I don't like people watching me do it. I like privacy there.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't like to do it in the open. I go and close the door when I use the restroom.
I mean, that whole idea of like, if you're not doing anything wrong, you shouldn't mind being surveilled is just total bullshit.
People judge neutral things all the time.
That's such a bullshit phrase.
People judge neutral things constantly.
Constantly. They're constantly
of course, that's why we have
judging
privacy.
Things. That's right. Exactly.
Anyway, again, I want to hear what the person listening, you listening or watching, we do need to wrap this up.
Let's wrap it up.
We could probably keep talking about this forever because it's an interesting topic for me.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear how you're expressing this to yourself. How are you interpreting what Antonia and I are saying? What's coming up for you? Do you soothe yourself with a certain thought line? Mm-hmm. Could you offer something to me? Go, well, actually, Joel, think about it this way. Like maybe there's a way you could offer me some rest in my thoughts around this.
Are you cognitively dysregulated, Joel?
I don't know if I'm cognitively dysregulated around it, but I definitely I have concern.
Yeah.
I definitely do, and maybe I'm just too extreme in my thinking around it. I want to be clear thinking, and I want to be rested into what's coming next, and actually excited about it. I think there's a lot of good stuff coming.
For sure. Well, and also, let me be clear, as I don't think that you're being unreasonable in your concerns.
Yeah.
I think your concerns are quite reasonable, actually.
Sure.
Whether or not they're inevitable, that's the one thing I'm not sure of.
Okay.
I don't know if I think that all of this is inevitable, but I do
enough.
think that the concerns are valid.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right, so leave a comment when you head over to personalityhacker.com, or certainly below this video on whatever platform you're watching or listening to this on. You also might be on Spotify or another channel. Wherever you're listening or watching this podcast, leave a comment and let's start a discussion around some of the things coming up for you. And those are the questions I asked earlier in the episode too. And feel free to come over to personalityhacker.com. We keep adding things all the time. We're getting ready to do more content around dysregulation and self-regulation, the 4 channels of self-regulation, of sensing, feeling, thinking, and intuition. Hey, what does that sound like? Sounds a lot like personality type. Well, that's true. The map of our personality helps us know where we most likely get dysregulated, and then we can map where to go and fix it and get out of it. Mm-hmm. So we're already starting to apply this in our personal life with our clients. We've been doing this for a while, and now we're starting to bring this out into the content here at Personality Hacker. We think this is the killer app of personality types, and we're going to experiment with this. It may not be, but I have a feeling, I smell it in the air, that I think this is going to really help a lot of people. It's already helped our clients.
It's a thing.
And I think it can be, I know it can help people one-to-one in coaching and group coaching. What I'm curious is, can it help somebody on like a self-reflection way? And I think it can. It help you map for yourself where you're dysregulated. So watch out for that. Get on our email newsletter, be a part of the community, subscribe to different channels, because we're going to continue talking about this. It's going to directly impact your life for the better if you're tuned to what we're talking about here. So I really want you to be a part of this. I think it's going to be really powerful for your life. Me and Antonia are in on this, and we think this is going to be a big unlock for you. It's been a big unlock for both of us in our lives. It's really helped a lot. So we're excited to bring this to you too, and some things we're talking about. My name is Joel Mark Witt.
And I'm Antonia Dodge.
And we'll talk with you on the next Personality Hacker podcast.